time for a quick thing that I hate. Alrighty, so I don't know why Disney keeps deploying Rachel Zegler to say things about Snow White that are likely to alienate pretty much anybody who would ever want to watch this movie. So they're making a live version of Snow White, a live action version of Snow White, which is really stupid since the original is, of course, a film classic. Rachel Zegler, who is playing Snow Diversity, because we can't do Snow White anymore, because obviously that'd be racist. Right? Tiana must remain a black princess forever, but Snow White cannot be a white princess, even if her literal name is Snow White, because she has skin as white as snow. That is literally the line in the movie. I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't make it up. That's just what the fairy tale is. It's not called, any other color. It's called Snow White. That's literally what it's called. In any case, Rachel Zegler also feels the necessity, apparently, to just crap on the myth and crap on the original movie. So over the weekend, here she was explaining that the prince in Snow White is actually the bad guy.
I mean, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
Super weird.
So we didn't do that this time.
So no prince, or a different kind of prince?
We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story, just because we cast a guy in the movie.
Right.
Andrew Burnap, great dude.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that I think everyone's going to have their assumptions about what it's actually going to be, but it's really not about the love story at all, which is really, really wonderful.
It is so wonderful. Love is super bad, guys. It's super bad. And the prince is a creepy stalker. Did you know that? You probably didn't, because if you watch the movie, you'll remember Snow White literally standing above a well and singing a song where she says that she wishes for the one I love to find me today. That's literally the lyric. You may remember it from the original movie. But apparently the prince then responding to that by finishing her song, which is what happens, that means he's a creepy stalker. Now, you know what would have been better, honestly? It would have been better if he just left her to be dead. That would have been better. I mean, she was there. She's on the bier, right? I mean, she's lying there. They've got the glass over her. She's pretty well preserved. He should have just left her alone. They should have been dead, and everyone would have been happy, right? I mean, not so happy because she would have been dead, but still, he's a creepy rape stalker. And so it would have been better if she had bitten into the apple and died, and then she never would have gotten kissed, and then she'd be dead. You know who else would be dead? Also Sleeping Beauty. She'd still be dead. In fact, there's a bunch of princesses who would still be dead if we just, abided by Me Too. Because it turns out that even when a woman is in love with a man, and even when they want to be together, the worst thing that could possibly happen is for him to kiss her while she is dead, to wake her up from being dead. That's the worst thing you could do in a myth. I mean, obviously, the best thing, probably the prince should have come along. He should have buried her. I mean, that would have been the best thing, is to bury her alive, quasi. That would have been the best thing. But at least this isn't going to be about love. I mean, honest to God, what is Disney doing? What are they doing? They are so high on their own supply. It is insane. What do they think the market for this is? What are the parents who are like, I'm desperate to bring my child to a movie that is not about Snow White, but is in fact about a self-empowered woman that's like Atomic Blonde, but for children. Let's do that. It's geniuses. I don't know about you, but the summer heat in South Florida, well, it is hot down here. One thing you shouldn't have to be sweating this hot summer is the price of meat. Well, thanks to Good Ranchers, you don't have to, because your price can be locked in for 2 years. You might be thinking, a price lock guarantee on meat? Yes, it is amazing, and you need it because Joe Biden's inflation is not over yet. Good Ranchers is the only meat company locking in your price with their industry-first price lock guarantee. Since 2021, they've been helping people combat the inflation of the meat aisle as well as the mystery of it, too. It turns out over 85% of grass-fed beef is imported from overseas, so not only is store-bought meat expensive, it's often low foreign quality as well. When you subscribe to Good Ranchers, you get a guaranteed price and a trusted 100% American source for your favorite cuts. You can save on your beef, chicken, and pork by locking in your price today. Every single steakhouse quality cut is individually wrapped and flash frozen to make mealtime easy. Visit GoodRanchers.com. Use my code Ben for $30 off any box. That's promo code Ben at GoodRanchers.com. GoodRanchers.com is indeed American meat delivered. I love my Good Ranchers. At least they made me a kosher steak one time. I got to say, it was an amazing piece of meat. They do a great job with all of their meat. I'm jealous of all of those who get to enjoy it on a regular basis. Go to GoodRanchers.com. Use code Ben for $30 off any box. If you're like most Americans, you might be struggling to make ends meet. By the time you pay the bill, fill up your car, and grocery shop, there's almost nothing left. Everything is now more expensive. Most of you are paying these bills with a credit card, while consumer debt rose over $1 trillion in the last year. It's the biggest increase in 20 years. If you're a homeowner, there is a way out. You should call my friends over at American Financing. They'll put together a plan to pay off that high-interest credit card debt and create meaningful savings for you every month. They're saving people up to $1,000 a month and closing in as fast as 10 days. Don't wait. Get yourself into a better position. Call their salary-based mortgage consultants today. See how much you can save. 25 years of experience, 7,000 glowing Google reviews speak volumes about their ability to save homeowners money. It costs nothing to get started. If you start today, you could delay 2 mortgage payments, giving you greater savings up front. Call American Financing today at 866-721-3300. That's 866-721-3300, or visit AmericanFinancing.net. That's AmericanFinancing.net. If you're falling behind on those credit card payments, you need to find a way out. American Financing can help you find that way out. They're saving people up to $1,000 a month, closing as fast as 10 days. Don't wait. Get yourself in a better position. Give them a call, 866-721-3300. We now have more stats about how much families are paying than they did 2 years ago. According to CNN Business, of all places, the typical American household spent $709 more in July than they did 2 years ago to buy the same exact goods and services, according to Moody's. That is a massive increase. Massive increase. That is $700 a month for the same goods and services. You extend that over the course of the year, you're talking $8,400 that you're spending more this year than you were 2 years ago. Those are huge numbers, because remember, whenever Joe Biden says, well, the inflation rate is coming down every month. No. The increase in inflation is coming down every month, except for last month when it didn't. But it was coming down every month, but that just means that you're adding inflation on top of inflation. It's like saying that you spent $1,000 last month on your credit card, and this month you spent $900, so you brought it down by $100. I mean, that's true, but you also added $900 to your debt, which is what Joe Biden has been doing with regard to inflation. Mark Zandi, the chief economist at Moody's, said high inflation over the past 2+ years has done a lot of economic damage. Most of that increase in household spending is driven by housing costs, which have surged. He added that families are also spending more at the grocery store on buying, maintaining, and insuring vehicles and on recreational services like cable. Paychecks have not grown by nearly as much as the cost of living. Okay, this is why I keep saying that gravity is going to drag the economy back down. The Wall Street Journal has an entire piece on America's credit rating. According to Spencer Jacob, writing for the Wall Street Journal, investors have historically paid a steep penalty to hunker down in super safe short-term government securities. For example, $100 invested in 3-month Treasury bills in 1928 grew to only $2,141 by the end of last year, while it became $46,000 invested in medium-grade corporate bonds and a whopping $624,000 if invested in stocks, according to data from NYU finance professor Aswath Damodaran. Especially in the years following the financial crisis, anything short-term and safe paid next to nothing. But the Federal Reserve's fight against inflation has amplified the risk of an unthinkable fiscal crisis made possible by decades of Washington dysfunction. So that means that people are actually spending a bunch of money to get into short-term government securities, which pays you almost nothing. That's how freaked out people are. Cash might be king. Although they were called certificates of confiscation in the inflationary 1970s, longer-term treasuries have been the go-to asset in times of crisis. The 10-year note yield is literally the risk-free rate used to value all other securities. But the government's pile of debt has now swelled following the war on terror, the global financial crisis, and the COVID-19 pandemic. Low interest rates and Fed bond buying masked the strain. Interest costs were recently no higher than in the early 1990s, but the Treasury barely seized the opportunity to lock in those rock-bottom rates by issuing more long-term notes and bonds, and now it is too late. Long-term budget forecasts say the U.S. debt held by the public will surpass GDP this fiscal year. Interest on the debt will equal 3/4 of discretionary non-defense spending. By 2031, it will be as large. That's right. Interest on our national debt will be the same as all discretionary non-defense spending in the American budget by 2031. So we are in serious trouble. Actually, that forecast is probably too optimistic. The swelling pile of debt means minor changes in assumptions that now have huge consequences. About 3/4 of treasuries must be rolled over within 5 years. Compound interest has a way of quickly making a bad situation worse. So what you're watching basically is that America's debt problem is snowballing, and it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And Joe Biden has exacerbated that problem. Are you tired of the lies and the twists of the mainstream media talking points? Yeah, me too. Join me in my newest series, Fact, where I dismantle and bring truth to this tiring mainstream agenda.